I had a message from Adrian that he might not be able to join us again today for family reasons. So I thought I'd just go back to something very basic. I had a message before we do our practice in mindfulness meditation practice, which sometimes we can lose sight of. And it's at the heart of both the teaching and practice of mindfulness meditation. And that is at the essence of mindfulness, is remembering that all things change and that's okay. A lot of the suffering in the mind we experience comes from pushing back against change in our lives, whether that's change in relationships that we cling to, that we value, that are precious to us, which we can't let go. Whether it's material objects that we cling to, whether it be a special gift and we lose it, or something from our parents that gets damaged. And all these things have a value to us in our minds: relationships, material things, experiences, even our own bodies. Cells in our bodies, some of them last just a few hours and are replaced, whilst others last almost a lifetime. And it's only as we get older or get injured or have an accident that we even think about these things. And yet impermanence is all around us in nature, in the planets, in the stars, in trees, plants, flowers. And it's impossible to identify anything that is permanent. But it's the clinging. It's often the clinging to things that are impermanent that we take to be long-lasting and permanent. It's that clinging to things that causes us, in our minds, to get upset, to get angry, to get irritated, to want it to be like this, to be like that. And if we let go of that clinging to permanence, if we let go to that notion and really accept deeply that all things in our lives are impermanent, and by letting go of that clinging and attachment, we free ourselves from the jail of clinging to permanence. And this is a very deep thing to get a hold of, to grasp, because it requires us to reflect quite a bit before that true reality really allows us to let go. But once we do, through our meditation practice and through reflection, once we grasp that and can truly let go of this notion of permanence that we live with in everyday life, then all possibilities open to us. It's like someone giving us the key to the door and opening the door. It allows us to see life, to see the world, to see ourselves in a very different way, and to live life more fully, because we're not in that jail of life that comes from believing or pretending, fooling ourselves that stuff is permanent in our lives. And the importance of this is it allows us to react to change in our lives in a very, very different way. In a way of accepting change, embracing change, and living life more fully. Because we're not trapped in that imaginary world of permanence. So just with that reflection, because mindfulness meditation is very much about accepting change, accepting there are things we can't influence, recognizing those things we can influence and having the wisdom to know the difference. And mindfulness meditation is about developing that awareness, and by developing that awareness, we develop that wisdom too. So with that reflection and welcoming Yashoda to our practice this morning.
Hello, good morning, David.
Good morning, Yashoda. Good morning. With that reflection, perhaps muting yourselves while we do our And as we settle into that comfortable position, creating the intention to maintain it for the next 20 minutes or so. And gently closing the eyes. And for a moment, just reflecting. How we become attached to change that we like and push back on change that we don't like. How we often want things to be different. And perhaps get a little agitated or irritated when things are not as we wish them to be. And we can reflect on situations in our own lives when we've experienced this. So to remind us that comfortable position, body upright, not slumping, hands resting on the lap, feet resting on the floor, and just noticing the body. Noticing sensations and feelings and emotions in the body. eyes closed, we use the mind to explore the body. Starting with the top of the head. What do you notice there? Notice warmth or coolness, itchiness, or perhaps nothing at all. And around the forehead, your ears, cheeks, eyes, nose, mouth, and around the jaw. Perhaps you notice tenseness around the jaw or around the eyes. Perhaps the tip of the nose is chilly or warm. What do you notice? What do you feel? And now down through the neck to the left shoulder, down the left arm to your elbow, your hand and your fingers. Not staring at these feelings or sensations. Working with the feeling mind. Feeling what you feel. Contact with the skin. Clothing rough or smooth. And now to the right shoulder. If there's any tension, ease the tension. And then to the elbow, down to the wrist, your hand and fingers. What sensations do you feel? What sensations do you notice? Does your clothing feel rough or smooth? Light or heavy on the skin? Now to your back, move your attention mindfully, gently to your back. You may notice contact with the chair or with clothing. What does that feel like? And round to the front of the chest, down to the waist. Here you may notice movement. Or as you move around the body, you may notice nothing at all. And that's fine too. Now the left leg from the waist, the hip, down to your knee, ankles, toes, and noticing the contact of the foot with the ground. Working with the feeling mind, not the thinking mind. Warmth, coolness, itchiness, heaviness, lightness. Whatever there is to be noticed. And to the right leg, from the hip down to the knee, the ankle, your foot, the toes, and the contact with the ground. Simply noticing and feeling what there is to be noticed or felt. Something or nothing. And with the same noticing, the same feeling, bring your attention back up the legs, to the hips, and settle your attention on the primary object. That is the tip of the nostril, where we notice the breath, or the very subtle movement of the chest rising and falling. Or for most people, the area of the abdomen, where we notice the abdomen expands when we breathe in, and the abdomen contracts when we breathe out, rising and falling. And we practice on the breath rising and falling, observing the breath, not interfering. Letting the breath breathe just as it is, but noticing the in-breath, noticing the out-breath. And we do this to calm that wild horse mind, the mind that jumps about with thoughts, inner chatter all the time. We also use the breath because it's there all the time, so we can practice anywhere. And our breath is at the heart of our impermanence. Each breath comes and goes, and we cannot have it again. Some breaths are longer, some are shorter, some are deeper, some are more shallow. Changing very subtly. we practice meditation on the breath to calm the monkey mind. Or the wild horse mind, as it jumps about, chattering about this, chattering about that. And as the mind wanders, we notice it's wandered. We accept that. And we gently bring the mind back to the breath. Noticing breath in, noticing breath out. And then the mind will wander again. We become aware that it's wandered, we accept it's wandered. We don't judge ourselves for that. And we gently bring our attention back to the breath. Noticing breath in, noticing breath out. Noticing it by the sensations at the nostril, or the rising and falling of the belly. Breathing in, breathing out. And simply noticing breath in and breath out. And as we practice diligently, over time the mind settles. It doesn't jump about so much. The body calms. And with patient practice, it's like the mind and body and breath become one. So practice on your own. Noticing breath in, noticing breath out, noticing how the mind wanders, gently accepting, acknowledging, and bringing the attention back to the breath. As we practice, not wishing it was like this or like that, and not wanting it to be like this or like that. Just accepting the breath just as it is, noticing whatever the breath is doing, rising and falling, accepting the thoughts that come and go, not judging good or bad, right or wrong, just aware of them like clouds in the sky. And then bringing your attention back to the breath. Noticing the breath just as it is. So preparing to end our short practice on the breath, we can begin to move our attention very mindfully, very carefully from the breath to the heart area. Noticing the beating heart. Preparing to share love, kindness and compassion, not just with ourselves, but all beings. Noticing and feeling the beating heart. Really connecting with the body, with the heart. Perhaps placing your right hand over the beating heart, feeling the warmth spread through the fingertips. And with the feeling mind connecting with that love, kindness and compassion. that sits there. Feeling yourself opening the heart and giving permission for that love, kindness, and compassion to be released. Perhaps using the feeling mind, looking into that mirror, smiling to yourself, saying, "Hi, good to see you. You're looking good today." Smiling in the heart, smiling in the face, smiling in the whole body. And saying to yourself, "May I be happy. Even in this moment, I feel happy. May I be peaceful. Right now, in this moment, I feel peaceful." May I be free from suffering of body and mind. Right now, I'm not suffering. I feel free of suffering. I am happy. I am peaceful. I am free from suffering of body and mind. Staying with that feeling for a few moments. I feel good. Imagine if I can take that feeling into everyday life. So we don't just wish it for ourselves. We wish it for all sentient beings. Loved ones, family, friends. Even those who have hurt us. Because all they want is happiness and peacefulness too. But like all sentient beings, something goes wrong. They become angry, upset, hurt us. And we extend that wish to all sentient beings in the whole universe. Human beings, animals, birds, insects, all thinking beings, all sentient beings. May they all find happiness, whatever the circumstances. May they all find peacefulness. May they all find freedom from suffering in some way. Staying with that feeling for a few moments. Creating the intention to take that feeling into our lives. Finding something every day to be happy about, to be grateful about, and sharing that with others. And now mindfully, gently moving your attention from the heart area to your hands. Notice the sensations around the hands and to the eyes. And as we open our eyes, mindfully aware of what that feels like. Gently opening the eyes and reflect for a few moments.